I'm turning the recording back on so that we can get started. We'll probably have a couple of more folks joining us. There may be a couple of stragglers, but we have so many great things to be able to cover today. And I'm very, very excited to be able to introduce you to, excuse me, Monique Reynolds. Monique is the Vice President of Early Care and Education Business Support and Sustainability with Quality Care for Children in Atlanta, Georgia. And her colleague is also on the line, Jamie Simpson, who's an Assistant Director of Family Childcare and Business Network at Quality Childcare. So we have some great resources. As you have seen already, because I've sent this information out to you, you know that Monique wrote a wonderful article for Opportunities Exchange talking about data collection and measuring impact. And this is something that we've been talking about for some time in our Shared Service Alliance group since its inception, how to tell the story of the impact that's being made. So we're going to turn this over to Monique. If you have questions during the presentation, put them into the chat box. I'll funnel them to Monique or to Jamie, and one of them can answer the questions for us as we move forward. And at the end, maybe we'll have a little bit of extra time if people didn't have a chance to ask questions. But for now, I'm very excited to introduce you to Monique Reynolds. Monique, it's all you.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Hello, everybody. So we're midday. You probably had lunch or you're going to have lunch after this. So we're going to have a great time. We're going to go on this data journey to see, and I hope that I can give you some tangible resources or some tips of how you can start collecting data to show your impact. I love telling stories, and impact is all about showing your stories. So I hope that I'm a good storyteller and that you will enjoy today's presentation. So let me go ahead and get ready to share my screen. And interesting enough, we were going to be presenting this, or we are presenting this at Shared Service Alliance, so you guys get like kind of like an insight of what we're going to be presenting. So so we're happy to actually do a run through today. All right, so our data journey, data, depending upon where you're from, that's what we're going to call it. And so interesting enough, when we think about this, I'm going to separate this in three parts. The first part, I'm just going to show you like how we started. Like, how do we even start this journey? What do we do? The second part is going to go into of our journey. It's going to go into how we built out programs and services based upon a need. And then the third part of our journey is really talking about the collection and how we pull that stuff together to tell or to share our impact story. This segment should really help you as an individual coach or as your organization in terms of what you should be looking for, what can you do to show the impact. I can tell you this, everybody's journey in this data space, in this evaluation space is different. So I hope that you like our journey. All right, what do you see here? You can unmute, you can type it in the chat. What do you see?
Nothing.
White screen.
Blank, nothing. This is exactly how we started. It was absolutely nothing. It was a blank canvas. We had no plan of action. We didn't know what we were going to do at all, but we thought about, we know it was a need. And so for me, I like blank canvases because then I can be creative. I can have my mind go to all kinds of different ideas of what this should look like. So for us, again, we had nothing. We just knew that we had to do business supports for our providers in our state, and this is where we started. Okay, so when I do thoughts of ideas, some of you, you know, like if you think back, my English teacher had me do this, my science teacher had me do this, like I had to start with, okay, providers need. I'm really driven about addressing providers and needs. And I'm good about that with anything, any project that I do. Where am I starting? So at the core, you'll see my idea was, okay, what do providers need? So when I'm looking at that, I knew they needed resources. they needed funding, they needed training, and specifically different types of training. So we all do training. We all go to trainings and we get so excited and we want to implement those things. But then when we get back to where we were, we figured we don't do it. So I wanted a different type of training. I wanted business related trainings and something that they can implement when they were in their program. I wanted to be their advocate. I wanted to build a network, but more importantly, that one of my ideas was that providers needed relief. And we all know in this space, as we're working with providers, they wear so many different hats. I've been an owner of multiple sites, and you're running around, just doing everything for everyone. And we have programs built for a classroom, for children, for families, but there was not a space that we were giving support to the provider, the business owner. And I'm like, oh no, I'm going to change that. So then all of these things that I was thinking about and processing, I wanted to make sure it led to developing a sustainable business. So this was my thought process of ideas. Okay. So here's level one, and you all may be further along or you may be right here in terms of your evaluation plan. So my level one was, okay, what do we currently have right now? Let me analyze our existing resources. So the only thing that we had there were two things, but the main thing that we had was the Provider Resource Hub, which most of you know is your shared service platform. So I was shocked that there weren't so many childcare providers on the hub, because I'm like, oh my God, every person that's running a childcare program should be linked up to the Provider Resource Hub because it has everything that they need in order to operate their business successfully, right? In our state, when I came in, it was a cost. It was a cost for the provider to be a member. The membership was very low. It wasn't a lot of people on here taking advantage of this, and the usage was not consistent. So when I was thinking about the evaluation plan, you will have some of your funders that will define your evaluation, because they're going to say, what is the usage on the Provider Resource Hub? So although I may want to go a different way, that has to be a part of my evaluation plan. So some of the things that you're doing in your evaluation will be driven by someone else, an agency, a funder, or your organization to say, this is what I want my output to be. Get that? So when I looked at that, when you look at the red side, I'm like, okay, we have the Provider Resource Hub. We don't have a lot of members. I have to promote it. I got to promote the resources. They have it as a cost. I want it to be free. So there's this myth, and I don't know where we get this myth from, but there's this myth that people won't value things unless they pay for it. So raise your hand. How many of you like free things? When you go to, yes, me too. I love receiving free things. When I go to an event, a baby shower, or anything, I want to be that winner. So I don't know where that came from, but I'm like, we don't have membership anyway. Let's just make it free. This is such a valuable resource. We have a funder that's going to pay for it. Let's make it free. And it shot up. Membership shot up like tremendously. So I'm looking at all those things. Membership was low. We needed to market it. And then the usage wasn't there. And so the number one reason the usage wasn't there, providers didn't know how valuable it was. So if you are, the number one issue right now in childcare is staffing. So I need to show them what is on the hub related to staffing, and I need to send that out to get them engaged on the hub. So that's what we did. The second part of, we had trainings. So we had what was called a D2D, the director training, and they met midday, kind of like what we're doing now. Now, we know we don't have a lot of providers that can just leave their job and come to a training in the middle of the day. The training was general leadership and it was state approved, so they could get their state approved training hours. It was the same people coming to these trainings, but I mean, it was just a handful, maybe like 10 or 15 people. So the reach is, nope, let's evaluate this. We need to change it. So I wanted to make sure that the meetings were in the evening and on the weekends, that they related, again, not to general topics, but to business trainings that was really designed for the provider. And let's go ahead and add some experts in there. Let's get a labor law attorney. Let's get, a finance advisor. Let's get a retirement person to come in on these meetings. And it doesn't have to be state approved. Got a lot of pushback because they're not going to come. Okay, again, meetings tripled because they were like, they wanted to be there. This is the content that they wanted. It didn't matter if it was state approved or not. They wanted to get the information. Okay, so one of the things that we develop in going through that process of analyzing, and remember, I'm not doing anything with evaluation right now, I'm just analyzing. So we developed this in terms of people need to see what you have. And so on our Provider Resource Hub, we wanted them to have something handy that they can be able to see. Look at all of these amazing resources that we already have available for you. You need a diapering poster, we got it. You need to do your handbook over, we got it. You need to have your health policy reminder because COVID has happened, we got it. We again highlighted and provided to providers what the benefit is. And that's really what it is. Your evaluation is all about what is the benefit? What is the benefit? What is the benefit? So we wanted to show the benefit. Another crucial part of our journey is that we did not want to separate centers for family childcare. On our team, I'm always saying they're childcare business owners. They're business owners who specialize in childcare. There is no difference. It's a different setting, but the high quality care is the same. The way they should set up the how they operate, how they work with the children should be the same. So then it separated the division of family childcare providers and centers, which was amazing because now we do the same thing for family childcare. So here you see the center side, we have the same type of form for our family childcare. All right. Our other services, which is my favorite part, if you haven't noticed, I like to be that cheerleader. I wanted to champion providers. I wanted them to feel like, yes, I finally have someone in our corner. I can tell you this right now. If you're a coach, that is the difference. That is a difference. If you're just coming in there with a checklist and you're like, this is what I see, this is what we need to do, they're not going to trust you. They're not going to connect with you. You've got to be that type of coach, that type of organization to say, we are here for you. This space is here for you, and we're not going to break it. We're going to make sure other things that are going on with children and families, we get it, we love it. That's what we have at the core, but business support is all about you. So they care for the quality of children, and we care for them. Get that? Like quality care for children. Okay. Anyway, so that was our focus area. The relief was, the difference is I didn't want to do a regular training. Everyone on my team, we have to be hands-on. That means we're going to kind of do some work for them. That myth about they got to do it themselves or they won't learn. No, if you are in your office and someone says, you know what, I can just take off everything that you're doing today and you can have the day off. You can sign up for that. So sometimes we have to get rid of that and say, nope, I got you today. You didn't put in your students. You need me to call one of your parents, whatever that is. We were available for them so that they can work more efficiently. And that brought about the business coaching and automation. And then we wanted to build a network of professional community childcare business leaders. And so our cohort program was formed, which really brought about our business curriculum. All right. So now we're going into level 2. So that was level 1. So again, level 1 is more about you thinking about the process or really analyzing your existing resources that you have now and just kind of mapping out what do your organization, what do you as an individual coach want your providers to gain? Sometimes we go through this in a different lens. We want to survey, we want things to go out. Surprisingly enough, when you survey providers, especially before COVID, None of them would have ever said, I need additional funding or I want business related topics. They would have told you, I need more information about classroom management, how I need to help my teachers. So oftentimes we're asking the wrong questions, or they need to kind of get a push as to what is needed. So that was our journey. So here we wanted to make sure they had hands-on guidance. We wanted to make sure we acted as their accountability partner. Oh, you didn't collect from Miss Susie today. Do you need us to be on three-way so that you can call her, so that you can collect all your fees in full and on time for the awesome service that you provide? So we were their accountability partner. Support. I love this because at the beginning, we were only servicing in Metro Atlanta, but when COVID happened, we were able to service the entire state of Georgia because it was virtual. So we send them emails, we're on the phone, and then our current initiative switch. So even though we have some funders that only wanted a particular outcome, remember, I go back to the need. At the time of when we were helping providers, they needed help with SBA applications to complete the PPP. So give your organization and give your department or who you are space to change what you may be doing, because what you may have aligned is just a small portion. If providers change their need, you kind of have to adapt, or you're being blindsided of not really connecting with them. So anytime they had a need, we switch, we open it up, or I wouldn't say we switch, we expanded our services and of what we were doing. And advocating, always trying to be the leader, the expert that they're calling you to get the information, and you're being that trusted person. Our key focus is Louise Stoney. It's that iron triangle: full fee collection, full enrollment, revenue covers per child costs. 100% of providers that we have worked with, 100%. And now we've kind of worked with over roughly 600 to 700 since we started this project. Every single one of our programs had to increase their rates. And that is the reality. So someone saying they won't, no, you have to convince them that they will and that they can. So this is our core. This was our core. So again, blank canvas, all of this stuff is everywhere, right? Okay, let's keep going. Another big part is gauging a provider's financial performance. So we just knew that we were in the business space. We weren't going to talk about classroom management. We weren't going to talk about anything else other than business. If it wasn't talking about business, we would refer it to another department. So here we wanted to focus on that iron triangle worksheet. We wanted to make sure we focus on the budget. We wanted to make sure that they understood what the budget was, their income statement and cash flow statement. And that is a very different category versus what their tax people will do. I'll explain that in a minute. So again, we're throwing out ideas, throwing out things that, okay, this is what we're going to do. These are the things that we're going to focus on. And almost every provider, I can tell you this, don't even know what these things mean. They know what a budget is, but they don't know how to implement or to utilize the budget within their business. They see a balance sheet, but what does that mean? So it was our job to make sure not only are we going to introduce and we're going to use these as their performance, we were actually going to teach them to master how to use it. And of course, automation. Everyone's been talking about automation. I don't know how anybody can function without automation. So we were fortunate to have a grant that would convert our programs to automation and set them up on a system. Again, it's not enough that we just say this is automation and here's a training. It was really important for us in our journey that we made sure every provider mastered every single module. So we use ProCare. I am very versed at about 10. different type of softwares. The reason why I particularly like ProCare is because it's the most comprehensive. It's definitely the hardest to learn, but no program on the market right now can come close to their accounting system. So that's why we chose ProCare, and it has the enterprise version. So we can go in the back door and we can look at all of the programs and see who didn't bill that day, who didn't do this, or who needs help here. And it just helps us view the providers in our space. Now, all programs offer that as well. So we were able to pay for 1 year of their software subscriptions. And we also give them, and it's really fancy, y'all. I actually got one here because I do some other stuff, but they get a laptop to go with their software program. And then again, here we conduct the one-on-one training. A lot of the things that ProCare or any software company will train on is going to be vague because they're in different markets. So what Georgia may be offering, or the way Georgia may do something in automation versus the way New Jersey will be different. And so I would stamp all the differences that you have in terms of setting up your automation. Like our third-party billing is very different than what ProCare will teach. So that's why we also have all of our coaches know those different steps and things when we're going through automation. And then our training. Remember, I said we wanted to make sure we talked about business related training. So what does that look like? We did a deeper dive, like, okay, we want to make sure that they know about finance and accounting. We want to make sure that they know about marketing, human resource, labor law, grant funding, automation. And then remember that provider resource hub, I needed the usage to go up. So I'm not posting any of my trainings anywhere else but on the provider resource hub. So if they wanted to get this training, they would have to log in. So that means my membership usage is going up. People are talking to other providers, so that then the membership is going up. So it's a win. So it's like, I was thinking of that analyzing piece, like, okay, making sure that all across sectors, we're doing very good. Not only are we doing these type of trainings, they have to go away with something. So for marketing, we do the training on marketing, but the coaches are following up to say, let me see your social media page. How often did you market? Let me see what you're doing. Labor law, you had a concern about that staff. Let me see your termination agreement. So again, it goes back to that accountability partner, that any training that we do, we implement it through our coaching, our one-on-one with the provider. And here's a beautiful picture. When we first started, we only had 8. And so it's grown tremendously since that point. But here, Charles Green, he is the CEO of Childcare Finance. I have amazing partners with people that come in and do our deeper dive trainings. And so these were in person. Now we do these type of trainings virtually. This here is worth 1,000 words. And so you want to make sure through your evaluation process, you have proof through pictures, through quotes, through statements, through articles. That is huge. And sometimes we feel like it has to be like this 2-page documentation. It absolutely does not. You want to do tidbits here and there. Do your PSAs to your local newspaper, radio stations where you're planting the seed and you have evidence of your coaching. Okay, so what did our success look like? It was amazing, and it's still amazing. So when our project began, on average, it was about $52,000 that providers were in debt. And so when we were talking to providers, when you do a deeper dive, like, how does that even happen? Providers are like, I don't want to inconvenience my parents, like, I know what they're going through. So they would want to live in silence, borrow Peter to pay Paul, not pay their bills on time in order to help the family. And it's that guilt of, if I ask my parents for money or to pay their tuition, they're going to think I'm money hungry. They're going to think I'm a certain way. If I drive a certain car, they're judging me. And we had to break that barrier. You can absolutely drive that Mercedes if that's what you want to do. You can absolutely, ask them for full fee, in full, and on time because of the service that you're providing. So you'll come across those type of things too. And again, our focus is business support. I'm not advocating for the family. I'm advocating for the provider. Not that I don't advocate for families, but you get what I'm saying. Like, you want to stay right here in that lane, and the barriers, the wall starts to come down where they feel like, you know what? Donna is really here for me. Like, Amanda is really on my team. I like that. Allison is really here for me. They start to break down and trust you a little bit more. Many of the sites were not full. They didn't have enrollment. They weren't using procedures right. And after that, enrollment grew by 34%. Bad debt was eliminated. Really, for most of the programs, we had one program, and that's what you see, the $877. But that program was on, that parent was on a payment plan, and none of the sites were using automation. None of them. And so after that, revenue increase. Remember, I said everybody got to increase their rates. We're not in competition with anybody. You can't base your rate like Miss Susie. Miss Susie's rate down the street is 150. You're saying you want to be 150, but your mortgage for your facility is higher than Miss Susie. So your rate has to be higher. And let's do that first, and then we'll look at how we market your program so that you can get that fee. So we did all of that. So the programs increased by 24%, 2 more than doubled their revenue, and 1 tripled, and all of them maintained or increased their quality rated status. So I think that deserves a hand because they did fantastic. And here's the thing, when you show them, this is all about the evaluation, showing people your story, showing providers things in black and white is a game changer. Because we can sit here and talk all day, but if I can show you how you can be a better business owner, and I can show you how you can make a difference and have a better life, that's it. And I put it in black and white. That's different than me talking about it. And so here we have Miss Ada's beautiful facility. She has a pool and everything, y'all. And she was really a 1-star quality rated program. When she had more time based upon our training and our coaching, she then became a 3-star quality rated program. And she was the one that tripled her revenue by doing all of this. And her husband told her this is a hobby because she was borrowing money from her husband to like run the center. She never took a salary, and she never increased her rates in like 15 years. And it's sad because providers are doing this because we love our job. We love taking care of kids, but it shouldn't be a detriment to ourselves. Okay, so we did all of that. We didn't even have this, y'all. So then it's like, well, what's the purpose of our service? Like, we just went based upon the need. Like, we just have a need. We just went in there and did the need. So it's like, okay, now, how can people would call and say, well, what is it that you do? And I'm like, oh, we do a little bit of this, we do a little bit of that. We needed a statement. So then we develop our statement after the fact. And so here what do? Our services are designed to empower childcare owners and leaders by giving them the tools and resources needed to sustain and excel their business. We provide a comprehensive strategy using hands-on support to transform the way providers manage their business without compromising quality or risk going out of business due to a lack of business knowledge and financial sustainability. So if someone would have said, Monique, what are you doing? What is business support? You remember that first slide? There was nothing on there. I would not have come up with this. I would not have even known what to say. It was through the need when we were doing the services that we were finally able to give a purpose to ours. Yours may be different. You may already have the purpose outlined, and so you may have to track backwards or forward. There's not one particular way. I'm just telling you our journey, okay? All right. So then I wanted to do more because COVID came, and how could we connect with providers? So we created a Facebook, and we actually had a Facebook, but it wasn't again, nobody was really on it. So we wanted to make sure that our Facebook was very supportive in this space. We wanted to make sure that experts was on there. We were doing webinars. We were keeping them updated about information. Any grant that came across my desk was on here. And again, it's easy. I could have gone simply and emailed everybody, but if you want the usage, I was thinking strategically, I'm only going to post the grants on the platform. One of the mistakes that we made, though, it was a public space and we had everybody on here. Once we made it private, it's kind of dwindled a little bit because it's just only the people in that space. Most people like to collaborate largely. So that was our Facebook page that we developed after the fact. And we have a schedule. So again, if we go back up here, I didn't know what we were going to do. I just knew that they needed help. They needed more webinars. They needed to find out what COVID meant, what's going to happen in this space. What are we going to do? And then as it developed, I'm good about that, like after the fact, right? I came up with a plan. Monday, we're going to do motivation. Tuesday, we're going to talk about a particular topic. I also built in understanding policies that affect your business with Grace. So Grace, you probably know Grace Reed. She's going to be at the conference. She is fantastic. So she's worked in the United States Senate for over 17 years. And so Congress has all these different laws or rules that are happening with childcare funding. Grace does an excellent job about breaking those things down in layman's terms to make sure that providers understand what's going on. And so she's one of our speakers. We have Childcare Community Connection because we wanted to make sure we are connecting with providers in the field and they could chat. We have Childcare Business Matters. We're always talking about business, always talking about business, always talking about business, financial success, and then Sunday Health and Wellness. We haven't really tapped into that as much. Then the next component, as people were graduating out of our services and all of that, they were like, I get it. Thank you for the program. It's wonderful. I'm still like going crazy. Why can't you all just do it? Ding, 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 ding. There's a need. There's a need. So y'all know I'm going to get into action. What can I do to help the need? So again, we developed that we'll do 6 months of your back office. And then after that, I wanted it to be very reasonably priced for $300. So $75 a week, you can hire us and we'll do all your back office. We'll do your billing. We'll do your third-party billing. We'll make sure your business is running successfully. We'll do all your forms, everything that you need. And so you can see the before picture, right? The provider's going everywhere. And then she joins with someone helping and they're happy. Then another initiative was in our state. So we went from having about 3,000 family child care providers in the state of Georgia to less than 1,000. And so we wanted to make sure that we can upkeep, again, the need, the benefit of family child care. So we developed an initiative, which is our building supply initiative, where we were able to give advice. We were able to start them with another grant for $1,000 if they work with us to help them get started. And then I'm very particular too about partnerships in terms of if there's a partner that doesn't believe in automation or doesn't believe in best business practices for the childcare provider, we don't work with them because we want to make sure now, y'all saw that statement. We want to make sure the statement of what we're doing aligns. And so when we're working with different types of organizations, right, this is going to help you define the type of leader you are as a coach and the type of organization you are. So then you'll get other type of funding because people will say, now we have a lot of banks that want to fund with us because now it's defined in this particular department of quality care for children. They want this and we don't waver, which is really great. We also expanded. We have bilingual coaches. So that was another need. Our Hispanic community was like, they couldn't even join because I don't speak Spanish. And so we were like, what can we do? So we expanded it based upon a need and developed that program as well. So look at this picture now. So at the core, remember that picture? At the core was providers' need. Now at the core is our shared service platform. It's that provider resource hub. And then all of that touches. If we are doing coaching and automation, we're going to refer them back to the shared service provider resource hub. They can find it. If we're doing training, we're going to refer it back to the provider resource hub. Back office support, the Facebook group, the network, everything again aligns to the core of taking care of the provider need, which will equal sustainable childcare. During this entire process, it was Excel sheets. We had a contact list, Excel sheets. We had, well, what about the coaching and automation? Excel sheet. What about the back office support? Excel sheet. How could we get this data? Excel, Excel, Excel. We had no idea how we were going to analyze it, but we needed a lot of Excel sheets to kind of put everything together. Again, remember what I said, the quotes are so valuable because it's the provider saying what they need. And so, you know, provider is thanking us or provider is talking about the program. So we get quotes all the time. Videos are great too. So then we kind of have a good grasp of what QCC is, our business support services is. Now we can kind of summarize what our benefits are. And so I got to watch my time. So we're saying here are our benefits. And so your benefits you may have up front. And so that's fine too, but you can analyze it to say, this is what we're going to promote to our providers. So now we had it. We can say we're going to develop and apply strong financial business knowledge. We're going to save time with conversion to automation system. We're going to improve your cash flow. You're going to understand fiscal management accountability. You're going to grow your enrollment, expand your network, et cetera, et cetera. And at the bottom, you can see we're going to impact your business bottom line and increase your profitability. For every step in this process, it was an Excel sheet. Wasn't anything fancy. It was just that we could measure exactly what was happening through an Excel sheet. So if someone called, well, did so-and-so grow their enrollment? They sure did, but I didn't have a collective. It took me hours trying to figure out collectively out of the 200 programs that we're working with, what was the percentage? So I had to manually kind of do some of this stuff after the fact. So if you're ahead of our process, that's even better. All right, we're getting ready to land this journey. So then we realized that we had solutions that work. Our providers matter most to us. We wanted them to work smarter and not harder. There was things, resources that were already available. Our job was just simply to connect the dots. And then ultimately, we wanted them to be great business leaders. Why would you own a company? You have to be there 15, 18 hours and you've already been in business for 5, 10 years. That makes no sense. So we had to change it. And we always came across, and we are still today, we're always ready and happy to serve. So we did all of that. I had an awesome CEO at the time, Pam Tatum. We have an awesome leader now, Ellen Cochran. At the time, it was Pam. So I didn't have the pressure of trying to figure out how all this fits in with quality care for children. I just had that blank canvas that we needed business support. So here, now that we had the program, we looked back and said, okay, how does this program fit into quality care for children? So we're evaluating. So we looked at the mission statement, the vision, what is going on with quality care for children? We've been in business for 40 years. How does this fit in? Because we've always talked about children and families. And we answered that question. And because we were so solid in what we were doing, our organization changed the mission. And so you can see here where it says create a system that equips families and child care providers with the knowledge and resources to nurture and educate Georgia's infants and young children. We cannot be stuck in a box when you're doing evaluations, because if you're stuck in a box, you will never be able to expand. You will never be able to meet the needs of a growing economy, let alone just with the child care providers. It talked about building a sustainable childcare system. So we started to define exactly what we wanted to do that values the childcare workforce and meets the needs of children, family, and community. And as you can see here, now we were like, okay, this is amazing. We did it. We have all these things in place. We've got to tell our story. And we wanted to tell it in a big way, so that people are aware that we're here to serve, that this is a program that they should do, and we have results to back it up. So when I talk about all those Excel sheets, I don't know where you are in your process. I always thought during the whole process is collect, collect, collect. So when someone says, oh, you don't have to collect on that. Yes, you do. Collect, because different funders want different things, but you should collect everything. If something pops in your mind, collect it. If you say, I wonder if I should collect what race my providers are. Collect it, because there may be a grant out there that's just for women of color. You may come across something where you're like, oh, do I need to really get the ages of the children? Yes, because there's going to be another funder or grant that's going to come up and do it. It can kind of get overwhelming, but through the process, we always went to the Excel sheet. Like, I'm just going to build the Excel sheet. Don't make it come across as a checklist with your providers, but in the back of your mind, you always want to collect data. Always want to collect data, because you'll be able to use it and analyze it later for various purposes. If you're only laser focused on one funder, one grant, your organization mission, and nothing else, you're going to miss out on opportunities for people to provide more funding, opportunities for you to coach providers on their need. But this is my journey, right? This is our journey. Your journey may be different. So we're going to tell our story. So we branded. We weren't going to be called Business Support Services. We knew that our program worked, so we stamped it. QCC works for sustainable care. We offered this suite of service. If you just work with us a little bit, we know that it will work and your center will be profitable. We did a difference. We had to shift gears again through the pandemic. We hosted 150 webinars. We did the state funding. We helped 32 programs access more than 1.3 million in SBA funding. We recruited and trained 40 volunteers. We distributed 1.6 million in stabilization funds. We created peer-to-peer Facebook group with more than 1,200 members. All of this was on an Excel sheet. We didn't go in saying, okay, we're going to do the pandemic and we're going to calculate it. No, it's just the fact that we were already collecting data. We knew that we had to collect data, didn't know why. And this is why we were able to pull and tell that story and write these articles and let people know when they called us and say, well, what are you doing during the pandemic? Oh, okay, we did, all these things. So last year, we served 60 family child care providers, 90 centers, and 50 was in our provider back office. And we're so excited about that because it was in depth. We can guarantee these 200 are successful because of the services that we offer. And now, this is the fun part, because then you can be creative. This is where you can take the data, everything that you're collecting, and make your fancy charts or let people know what you're doing. So then we broke it down. If people came in and did the Provider Resource Hub, their shared service platform, now we have about 2,700. That's good. But if they go into our business service, about 4,200 are participating in our webinars and our trainings. All this is from Excel sheets. We're able to say that's better. And then the best is the business coaching and automation. Okay. This is kind of crazy. And when you get to the conference, if you're in this segment, Allison, who is one of our evaluators, because that's now level 3, she likes to start here. We did not have a logic model, but a logic model is really good if you can have it at the beginning, because it kind of sets the stage of what you're going to do. But again, remember when I said everybody's journey was different? We didn't have a logic model. I didn't even want a logic model because I didn't know what we were going to do. So now that we had everything, it made sense. We need to have a logic model about what we're doing, our strategies, our targets, our outcome. And again, we did it at the end. Your organization may want to do it at the beginning. But let me just say this. If you start here, don't get in the weeds. Let this be a living documentation that you can constantly change, because if you do, you'll sit there, you'll collaborate. And if you got a team of 8, all 8 people got different ideas going everywhere, decide on the top 3 and then go from there, because it's going to give you a headache. And then you can build upon your targets and your outcome. So I'm like, we can't do this. We got to do something different. So we started exploring. We're telling people about automation. We need to do automation. So we started exploring systems. So at Quality Care for Children, we use ETO system, which is our efforts to outcome. And it just kind of made sense because our other departments were putting data in to get outputs so that we can have, like, for our organization, all the different departments of what we're doing. I'm going to be honest. I didn't like the system, and I'm like, we're not going to use it because it's making my team inundated with doing data. We just like the Excel sheets. Yes, it's a lot for us to do. So one of the things that I would encourage you to do as a coach, individual, or organization, push back a little bit and say, how can we have a system, whatever that system is, where we're not inundated with focusing so much on data and it's taking forever that we're not focusing on implementing the actual program or service. So when we push back, they develop the design of the program just for us. So all those Excel sheets are now in the ETO system, and my team understands it. We're excited about using it. We didn't have to change the way that we do things. We have some tweaks here and there, but now our impact story is going to be amazing because we can produce reports in a timely manner versus me trying to pull all that stuff together. We can effectively and efficiently represent our department as well as our organization. We can analyze data better. You remember how I said, oh, I got to calculate everybody. I don't have to do that now. Now I can run a report and say this county is doing better because of X, Y, and Z versus the whole platform, the whole region. Reports are endless. I mean, there's so many different reports when you can have a system that you can collect your data in versus all the Excel sheets, and user friendly. And then the bottom line is it's an easier way to show and share your results and impact instantly, whether that's with the funder, whether that's with your shareholders, whether that's with TV, media. It's just an easier way to pull all of those Excel sheets, which was our choice, in a system that will produce and share the impact. I cannot emphasize enough that you have to do that. So it started with little old me to now we have a team of people, and we make it known to the childcare field. We have a lot of childcare providers that have franchisees or different corporations, and we tell the others they have that support. We are your business team. And this is, our team is ready to go and help you in any way that we can. And everyone on my team, they are absolutely amazing. One is here now, Jamie. And so this is my contact information. I hope that today you came away with the importance of evaluation, but also understanding that setting it up, getting it started comes in different forms. Your journey may be totally different, and that's okay, but you can pull all these pieces of the puzzle together because they do have to come together and share your impact. No matter how small or no matter how big. If somebody is like, oh, we got to write a story and you can't get that story done within an hour, don't do that story. Do something different that you can get done. And instead of saying no, always find ways to say yes, 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 yes. And even if it's short, sweet, and simple. And I am done. I really hope that helped. I would love to hear feedback if I've answered questions, if this is what you thought it was going to be, and all of that.
So let's open up the chat box and let's unmute if you want to ask a question directly. This is a great opportunity. We still have a couple of minutes left. Feel free to write your responses into the chat box if that's what you want, or if you're comfortable, take yourself off of mute and just ask your question out loud. Don't be shy. Come on, folks.
I have just a
Good.
comment. This was awesome. It made data collection a lot doable and not just numbers and Excel sheets. So this was awesome. Thank you, Monique.
Thank you. Thank you for the feedback.
Thanks, Michelle. And that's something that we've been talking about. You can, and one of the things that Monique said that I think is great, which we've talked about a lot, measure everything. You may not need everything, but you might end up needing some of it. And then you can shape it the way that you need to as you move forward. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be super formal, as long as you are collecting the information. And we have started talking about that quite a bit. Some of our groups who've been doing this work a little bit longer have produced some wonderful visual representation of the work that you're doing, just like you showed us. Other comments or questions? Oh, I've got several other people in the chat box. Irma, did you want to say something more other than the importance of data being key? Several people said thank you. Love your energy.
Thank you. Is there something that you have about evaluation or collecting data that was not addressed that I can address for you?
Well, you talked about just using simple Excel spreadsheets. Some folks aren't even comfortable with Excel. That's not always folks' expertise. If you have to do it with paper and pencil, then do it with paper and pencil. I think that we can start now talking that we've heard what you have to say about how to create those spreadsheets and do simple formulas that can help the calculations. We don't want to leave anybody out from those opportunities to also collect information. We've also talked about doing it through SurveyMonkeys, because all of these components that you can use can do analysis for you. You don't have to do it so formally. And what I say all the time is we're not doing scientific research here. We're not doing, educational theses. You don't need to do chi-squares and all that kind of stuff. You just want to be able to demonstrate what the changes are. So that's great. Anybody else want to ask any other questions? Lots of wonderful comments in here about your enthusiasm and your energy. Thank you so much. That's great.
And then I do have Jamie here. And so Jamie was one of the first hires in our organization. Jamie, do you have anything to add in terms of how we just started or the data collection in general?
The one thing that I can say that for us that's really, really important was the hands-on support that we provided to the providers. And that way we were able to continue with this program to show them how to operate their business so they can stay sustainable. And even with collecting the data, as Monique mentioned, just making sure that we checked in with them as often as we needed to, but we would collect on a weekly, monthly basis so that we can make sure that we have the information needed. And just as she said, if it's something that's really small and you don't think that you need it, go ahead and put it down, because we were trying to figure everything out. Just as she mentioned, we didn't know. It was just, okay, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's try this. Let's see if this works. And actually, like she said, it did turn out where when we needed that information, we had it. And so that was the good part. That was a really good thing that we actually did. So I can't reiterate it enough. Please make sure that you just document, and have your story to tell. Everybody has a story. The coaches, the providers, everybody has a story.
Mm-hmm. And thank you for that. We have certainly seen that here. I don't know if Maria is still on the call, but one of the most powerful pieces of information was what we refer to as a testimonial for a provider who said an activity that was being done changed her life. And that's a pretty strong statement to be able to say that something that you got out of being part of a shared service alliance changed your life.
That is really, really good. And now we're in the final stage where that's the high level where we are paying for an evaluator. So we're working with Allison from Luminary that they're going to do a formal evaluation. Some organizations may start with the formal right up front. We just felt like we weren't ready. We wanted to build our ship or our plane first and do that. But Liz, you had a question.
Yeah, my question is, how do you strike that balance between providing support for your members, but not doing too much for them so that you're kind of, you're overwhelmed with the amount of work? I hope that makes sense.
It does. And someone said Google Forms. We use Google Forms too for our applications, but for our team, Liz, to be honest, it's a little bit different because we will do it for them. Our goal was the trust. So for us, it was like we had to establish trust from day one, and we had to build upon it. So we had to show up. And so sometimes our hours were a little bit different, but I give my team flexibility. So if they were working longer hours, they could take off the next day. Now we have it. We're known. And so it's not as much. So we can balance a little bit about, no, we can't do it. And we even talked about it after we've done it like the third and fourth time. It's like, okay, we've even created guidance for you. We've taken pictures step by step. We're going to do everything that we possibly can, but at some point we do take our hands off. But I'll tell you, it's like after we've done everything that we possibly can, into the point that we're doing it for them because we wanted to build that trust.
Our alliance model is a little bit different than yours because it's county-based. And so there's a project coordinator who brings in members. And what we're trying to do is get the members to work together. So the project
Right.
coordinator works with, not necessarily for, but yes, there are times when the project coordinator can take over certain roles and responsibilities in order to save the members of the alliance time and resources so that they can focus on other things that they need to be able to do.
Right. And that's critical too, because a lot of times I would go back to that accountability piece. So even if you're not doing it, that balance for me would be, I would have that check-in. Like, okay, here we do recap. So here is what your responsibility is when we do our next check-in. And that's what I lead with in that next meeting. What did you get accomplished? And then sometimes you can say, oh, we can't do anything today but this. And you're just sitting there and you're watching them do it, but you're sitting in that space with them while they're doing it to hold them accountable. I will say from our experience, and Jamie, correct me if I'm wrong, it's just really getting them over the hurdle. Once they get over the hurdle of, I actually can do this, and they see it in black and white, I promise you, they're so relieved. But during the hurdle and you're coming in there saying, do X, Y, and Z, and they got this going on and that going on, they're not going to do it. They're not going to follow up. And you're going to feel like, I just told them to do this and this and this, and they haven't done this, and now you're frustrated and you go again and you're like, okay, I'm going to give this to you again. And you come back. It's like, you know what? I need to be your relief today. Let me do this. And then we're going to start with little small pieces. And then you get them over that hurdle. But I promise you, if you can get them over the hurdle, your life is even better and their life is too.
Yep.
You're right, Monique. And I was going to just add to that. It's that empowerment piece and just letting them know and showing them that they can actually do it. Because when they come to you, they're already feeling defeated. And you're just like, no, you can do this. You can do this. And so when you provide the step-by-step training for them and you show them, what it does is it turns their mindset around, and it really helps them to say, okay, let me just try to do this on my own. And just what you asked, Liz, yes, we will jump in to help them if they need it, because of course, throughout the day, they're busy. They have so many things to do. But some of them will say, hey, can you just send me the instructions one more time? I want to do this myself. And so again, just empowering them and letting them know, like, you can really do this. You can do this. So it does balance itself out.
And celebrate their small wins. If they do something that you ask them to do, that's an email. That's like, I'm doing an image. I'm like, hooray. I'm making it a big deal. To the point I will even give a gift card sometimes, because I want them to feel like, oh God, okay, this is pretty cool. And I have a coach that's on my team.
Any other comments or questions people want to share? Well, we're going to get to see Jamie at the conference. Monique just told us that she's unfortunately not going to be there, even though her name is on so many pages. But I hope that this is a helpful takeaway for you all. We can talk more about it when we are together in our community of learners on the 28th and in our individual TA sessions together. And hopefully we're going to hear way more about this kind of stuff when we go to the conference. I think there's a lot about these things. So I want to say a huge thank you on behalf of the New Jersey Shared Services folks, and really appreciate all your wise words, your thoughts, and your unbelievable enthusiasm. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, Amanda. You'll have so much fun for me at the National Shared Conference. You're going to have like a fantastic time. So hate that I'm not going to be there, but enjoy.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for your time today. Hope you got as much out of it as I did. I have so many notes. So we'll be talking about these things in our future conversations. Thanks, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Take care.
Okay.